Hello everyone! Today in this video I'm gonna give you a few signs, warning signs, what to look out for when you are starting your healing journey, or maybe you already started a while ago, that you don't fall for what is sometimes called false light teachers, false gurus, spiritual egos, in the form and shape of facilitators or healers or shamans. There's a lot of that in the spiritual communities and in spiritual groups all around the world, and also of course online. So I'm just gonna talk a little bit about my own experiences in 14 years of traveling the world and over a decade of doing the healing work, what to look out for and what not to fall for. So hi everyone, my name is Christine. I help people navigate difficult life transitions, trauma healing and transformation from survival mode to a soul-aligned embodied living. Okay, so I thought it's a good video for today because just yesterday I had a very interesting encounter with a girl who I met over 10 years ago in a plant medicine retreat in Peru, together with another friend of mine, and we were all living there for weeks. I think she lived there for a month. We did volunteer work, so we got everything for free, and it was it was a plant medicine retreat with an English woman and her husband who was a Shipibo shaman from that tribe, who has been using that plant medicine for, I don't know, thousands of years. So we somehow ended up there. And I'm not going to get into that in this video. It was just such a coincidence to see a woman from the past, from over 10 years ago. And we're like, oh my God. And then we started talking, and today we meet for lunch and we're going to talk some more. And then we both started talking about our negative experiences there. And I also know from my other friend that we all got psychically attacked there by this shaman during these ceremonies. And it sounds a bit far out there, I know, but like we caught spells, entity attachments and stuff like that. So bear with me. But yeah, so I think there's a lot to be still talked about and processed about that time. And then I also, that made me reach out to the other friend that I haven't talked to in many, many months. And I told her that I met that girl, and it was like, oh my God. And then we started talking about that shamanic practitioner that we both worked with in, well, I'm not going to tell you the place, but I met him long ago when I lived in Ireland, and he helped me greatly. I thought he was a great shaman. He saw things that other healers didn't see. And I worked with him for many years, also later when I didn't live there anymore, through remote sessions. And she went really deep with him and his wife and their whole teaching facility. She went really deep into that path of becoming a shamanic practitioner. And I thought everything was great. And then yesterday she told me, to cut it a bit more short, that things went somehow sideways or downhill, and that there were problems and negative energy got in, and they somehow lost their way a little. And I'm gonna leave it at there. But that made me, that gave me the idea to talk a little bit about the pitfalls when you start your healing journey on the more spiritual level, especially when you are like me, when you are traveling a lot. Maybe you have a nomadic lifestyle like I have, and then when you're interested in this kind of topics, when you're a very spiritual person, maybe you're drawn to these places. Like I've been to so many spiritual hubs all around the world. I mean, I live in Ubud, it's one of them. Then where I met that girl over 10 years ago, it was in the Sacred Valley in Peru near Cusco. Then, I mean, I've been to India, to Rishikesh and Dharamsala and all these places. And then, of course, there's Koh Phangan in Thailand. And then I've lived in Mexico near Tulum. I've been to Costa Rica. I don't know. It's like in south of France. I mean, Ireland, Glastonbury in England, and the whole south of England. I mean, I don't even remember anymore. Like, there's so many places. And it attracts these kind of spiritual seekers, but it also attracts people who, and I'm not saying that everyone is like this, please don't get me wrong, but it attracts people who might be a bit in their spiritual ego, because these places are just great for declaring yourself a shaman and a priestess and whatever teacher and facilitator, and you just offer your stuff, and then all of a sudden you have these people who maybe are really lost, who are really seeking help, who maybe have a lot of unhealed trauma and wounds that they don't even know about. Like I had no idea the first few years doing all that work, traveling to these places, doing all these things, that I had so much unhealed trauma I really didn't know. And it was just very, very difficult. And in that state, you are quite vulnerable because you're somewhat lost and you're seeking. And then you meet these people who seem to know what they're talking about and who are maybe very self-confident. And so, yeah, I just wanted to talk about a few, let's say, warning signs, okay? So first of all, no matter what, and no matter who you meet and where you go, if something or someone feels off, it probably is. Before I say anything else, first and foremost, listen to your own intuition, listen to your heart, and listen to your gut. Even if that sometimes is a problem, when we are very traumatized, we might be instinct injured because of our wounding. And it's sometimes really hard to feel into ourselves and to feel into our own inner truth compass. So just be aware of that. But when you are on a spiritual journey, on a spiritual awakening or healing journey, you're probably still very good in that. So trust that. Trust yourself more than anyone else. Never ever put your power into someone else. First and foremost, you have the power. You know the truth, and you know what's best for you, and you probably know what's not good for you. So no matter what someone tells you, no matter how many Instagram followers they have, no matter how super spiritual they look like, the right clothes and attire and gimmicks and whatnot, no matter what spiritual lingo they use, just especially when they're a bit like that, I would look out for that. That's already a bit of a, I'm not saying that everyone who looks like it is like a imposter or is in their spiritual ego. I'm just saying, if a lot of emphasis is put on that, if they seem to take themselves very, very seriously, then, and especially if they tell you that they know better than you, then that's a big red flag. So first of all, listen to yourself, listen to your own intuition. For example, when my healing journey started, it started in India. That's now over 12 years ago, and I had no idea, I had no clue of anything. And then some guys that I met, they dragged me to a satsang, to like a spiritual session meeting with a very well-known guru. And I'm not going to say who it was, but he's very well known, and I had no idea who it is. And then that whole room was full of people who hang on his every word. He sat there elevated on a throne, looked like a throne, and they were all so lost. They were all, I don't know, they all, I mean, I was lost too, of course, but they all seemed to be so lost and so desperate and like, please, master, tell us what to do, this kind of thing. I mean, they were almost like bowing down, and I found that so bizarre. Like, in that moment, I mean, I looked around and I thought, eh? And in that moment, I knew that this whole guru thing is definitely not for me. Because it looked too worshipy for me, and these people did not look very happy or very, that they, I don't know, that they had any clue of anything. I didn't have a clue either. But I don't know, it just felt wrong. And then many years later, then I heard stories about this person and about the group around him, and almost about the cult that he formed around him, and lots of abuse stories and exploiting his followers and stuff like that. And I already, again, like, I was lost too. I had no clue. I was just starting everything, and yet I had this weird feeling when I went there that maybe something is not so right here, or at least it's not for me, and I turned out to be right. So again, just please, wherever you go, whatever you encounter, feel into yourself. Listen to your gut feeling more than anyone or anything. And especially when you are vulnerable, and you are vulnerable already when you are lost and you seek help, and maybe you have a lot of wounding and a lot of trauma and you're not even aware of it, and you go to these spaces, especially anything labeled tantra, anything labeled plant medicine, any shamanic healing spaces or retreats, anything that goes directly to the soul, anything that is there is emotional healing involved, there is the soul involved, and especially if there is any kind of sexual energies involved, like tantra. And I'm not demonizing tantra, and I'm not demonizing plant medicine. I've done plant medicine myself. It just sometimes can give access to, in the worst case, predators, false light teachers, or just people who are really unhealed themselves, and they're in their spiritual ego, and they do this to get some sort of validation, to get their followers and or money or fame or anything. So just be very aware when you go to these places and into these spaces that just practice discernment. That's the word I was looking for. Just really practice discernment. It's not all just because you are in these places and just because it's labeled whatever, like this and that retreat or workshop, or it's in Ubud, or it's in Rishikesh, or it's in Tulum, or it's in Sedona. That doesn't mean that everyone is just super amazing and pure and love and light. And more than anything, it doesn't mean that they know better than you what you need. If someone tells you what you need without really asking you if you're okay with that, that's already a red flag. If someone, like a teacher, a guru, a facilitator, whatever, a tantric something, a priestess something, a shaman something, if they say, oh, your higher self just told me that you absolutely need to do this, you need to work with me, you need to come to my sessions, my classes, my courses, my retreat, red flag. Run. Like, I don't know. I would, if I ever am in that position, I would never say that to people. I'm sorry. I mean, of course, you can advertise your offerings, but you don't walk up to people and say, oh, you soul or you spirit guides or whatever just told me that you're like lost and you need my offerings. You know, like I'm your savior. If anyone positions him or herself as a savior type of person, as a guru, as above you, as spiritual authority who knows better than you, or who knows you better than you do, or that knows better what you need than you do, then run. Be aware that it can happen quite easily, especially when you're in these places like Ubud, like Tulum, like whatever, Sedona, like Costa Rica, like anywhere where there is like a concentration, where there is already that kind of culture, where there are these spiritual communities and vibes and whatnot, and you encounter these people that offer these things. Maybe you attend their classes and they just look so cool and they're so self-confident and they seem so spiritual and so high vibe and whatever. Observe yourself if you start fawning. And if you don't know what fawning is, it's a trauma response. It's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. It's akin to a dog showing his belly. It's giving your power away to someone else. And you somehow place them above you. There is like a power dynamics, and that power dynamics are already there in these kind of communities very often. You just come into that existing structure of hierarchy and you already have unhealed trauma. You probably have mommy and daddy issues, the mother wound, the father wound. There is always a wounding with authority that goes hand in hand with it. So either we rebel against authority, that was mine, or we somewhat fawn. And the fawning can even happen when you are, let's say, rebelling authority figures, because it's sometimes not that obvious. So when you're like a spiritual seeker and you come to these spaces and someone looks like a super amazing teacher or guru or facilitator or shaman or priestess or whatever, then it kind of sneaks in and you don't even realize it at first. But when you're like, oh, this person is so amazing and they are so gifted and they're so great and they're so spiritual, and oh yeah, and now she tells me I need to do her whatever 5 days retreat for $5,000, maybe I should do it. And just observe yourself when you start fawning, okay? Because then it's very, very easy to fall into that trap of giving your power away to these people. And just don't listen blindly to what they tell you. Again, if they tell you, you need to do their course, you need to do this, you need to do that, just don't just blindly believe them. Don't blindly believe what anyone tells you. Not even what I am telling you in this video or in any of my videos yet to come. Just, you don't have to believe anything I'm saying. I don't really care, to be honest. There was a time when I needed people to agree with me, when I needed validation, when I needed it mirrored back to me, and where I would get quite angry if that wasn't the case, or very, very self-conscious. Because I was still very unhealed and I was still working on everything, and I too was in my spiritual ego. So I think that's a very normal phase for everyone on this path. But I don't depend anymore on whether people agree with me or not, or you take my advice or not. I'm just telling you what I know, and what you do with it is absolutely up to you. I'm very happy if it resonates with you, and whatever I say here, or I speak from my own experiences and you try it out and it helps you, that's why I'm doing this. But if you don't, fine. Like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just take what resonates and leave the rest. If you don't like it at all, it's fine. Like, bless you, have a good life, goodbye. Like, whatever. But there are some people who absolutely need people to be their students, their followers, who need them to almost to agree with everything they're saying, to do everything they're saying, and almost some want to be worshipped, to be honest. Like this guy that I saw in India. I mean, it was like, what is this? Like, I had this bizarre feeling that it just wants to be worshipped. And then years later, it turns out that I was probably right. So when I tell you the whole time to listen to your own intuition, first and foremost, to your gut feeling, to your heart, to your inner truth. Again, when we're injured, when we are traumatized, when we have a lot of unhealed wounds, it can be that we are instinct injured and our truth compass is not really working well, or at least we're not really connected with it or tapping into it properly. If you're very, very unsure if it's fear or if it's intuition or whatever is speaking, if you really, really don't know yet, then just don't book a session, a course, a class, a retreat or whatever with someone just because they look good, they say the right things, or everyone does it. Or even if they have a lot of followers on social media, it doesn't mean anything. Then try to find real people, trustworthy people who maybe know them. Try to do your research. Try to find recommendations or referrals from people or places or, I don't know, groups that you really, really trust, that are trustworthy. That is also not a 100% guarantee, but it's better than just blindly doing something because, I don't know, because they tell you to, or because you're somehow pulled into it. And just always still try to reconnect with your truth, with your inner truth compass, with your intuition. Ask your heart. If it's if it's like contracting, if your heart is contracting, if around your stomach, your solar plexus, it's contracting, it feels tight, something doesn't feel very good, it probably isn't. Listen to that. If it feels good, if it feels expansive, if it feels just right, then it probably is, at least for you. So there is no generic cookie cutter advice or truth for everyone at the same time. And some people need different things at different stages in their life or along their healing path. It's not all really black and white, but sometimes it is, because sometimes you can see very clearly if someone is a really false light guru or teacher or even a predator, a wolf in sheep's clothing. They are sometimes quite obvious, and these stories come out now more and more because truth can no longer be hidden in the times we live in. They just are all exposed now. I mean, please do your research. There are really stories now everywhere online of well-known spiritual figures or teachers or whatever who are not who they claim to be. There are stories of abuse, even sexual abuse. So just really use your discernment however much you can. And the problem is very, very often, and that is online as well as in these spiritual hubs where I live and the kind of that I've been traveling to for many years, but not limited to. I mean, it happens in real life, of course, in normal countries. It happens everywhere that people come into contact with something. They do one plant medicine or 3. They do one whatever retreat. They do one whatever tantric workshop, for example. And then they're like completely hooked and they're completely convinced this is it. This is what saves me and that this is what saves everyone. And then and they become very quickly a facilitator themselves from like within a few days or a few weeks, and they haven't done any healing before, let alone shadow work or trauma healing or inner child healing or looking at their mother or father wound or ancestral trauma or anything like that. And then they think they know everything, and then they become a facilitator themselves, and they're basically unhealed healers. And that can happen to so many people who already have been doing their own healing work maybe for years. But if there are such deep layers of trauma that they haven't looked at, it's in the shadow, and the shadow will then manifest sooner or later at some point in their work. When people are stuck in their spiritual egos, unhealed healers, and to the point of being really false light, they will always somehow position themselves above you. There is a power dynamics, there's a hierarchy. Even if it's not said, it's implied. They are the teacher, you are the student, they know better. And sometimes they tell you what to do or what not to do, or like, but not in a normal way, more like, oh, you need to do this, and if you don't do that, then you're like not spiritual, or you're not, or it's your own ego or whatever. So there are certain things, there are certain warning signs, there are certain red flags that repeat throughout these communities and these spiritual healing structures. So be very careful with things like someone tells you you're special. Like, especially, let's say you're a woman and there is a man and he is a whatever facilitator, tantric, this or that, or a shaman, or a plant medicine, ayahuasquero, or whatever, and he approaches you alone and he tells you you're special. And you need a special, or you're like the lucky one who gets a special treatment with him, or anything like that. If you notice any kind of dodgy, sleazy, anything, behavior, energy, anything that goes into that direction of being a sexual predator, run the other way. If you, like, again, listen to your instincts and listen to your intuition. And even if it's not sexual, if someone tells you you're special or you're better than all the others, it's very seductive because it appeals to our ego. Like, you're special, you're gifted, you're better than the others, or whatever. I'm not saying it's already a sign that that person, there's something wrong with that person, that they're bad. It's just something maybe to look out for. As I mentioned it already, the second sign is if they tell you that your soul or your spirit guides told them that you need their offer, that you need to do their retreat, that you need to pay thousands and thousands of dollars or whatever to get their thing. Red flag. I don't think that any serious person, healer, facilitator, or whatever, that has some sort of integrity would ever say that. Third one, when something feels off, it's probably off. Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. Trust your gut feeling. Sign number 4, if they only talk about themselves all the time. I mean, I talk about myself a lot in these videos, so yeah, sorry. But like, I mean, hopefully to help you with my experiences. But let's say someone just literally only talks about themselves and kind of glorifies themselves and puts themselves on a pedestal and seems quite grandiose and has not or like zero groundedness and grounded humility. There is no humility. Then that's another red flag. A big one in spiritual love and light or new age circles or communities is spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity, and all is just love and light. So if you come to seek help and maybe you have a lot of pain, maybe you lost someone, you had a bad breakup, or you just, in general, you're just like in pain and you trying to heal your wounds and your traumas and you're hurting, and then you try to get some support there, and then it's all just like love and light and gratitude and this and that, and there is no space for genuine emotions and genuine emotional expression. And very often they will say, oh, all is welcome, but it's not. They just say it, but it's not welcome. If you start to get angry and you express your anger, I mean, okay, debatable if that is a good example, but that would not be welcome. And even worse, when you are shamed for having any kind of negative emotions, when you are told that this is low vibrational, or that it's your ego, or anything like that, that's a big red flag. Yeah, any kind of being shamed for having normal emotions as a human being, especially when something bad happened, or you're in grief or in pain or whatever, and then you're told that you're not spiritual or whatever, like that's just not good. Like, that's a big red flag. I would not go back to this kind of group then, to be honest. When, I don't know, are we 5 now? Another sign is when you are told, for example, they say something that doesn't feel right, or you dare to say something, and then they tell you it's all you, it's all your ego. They don't have an ego anymore because they are the super gurus and the super teachers and enlightened, awakened, ascended, and it's all you, basically. And when you feel bad about it, that's all you. Because you're not spiritual enough, or because you're in your ego. Because they don't have an ego anymore. So it's all you. I would not even start discussing. I would just run the other way. Big red flag. Number 6 is if there are any kind of culty vibes. If you just get a whiff of some weird, I don't know, personality worship around that central person, the guru, the teacher, the facilitator, the shaman, the tantric guy, the priestess, whatever. Like, if there is any kind of culty, weird thing going on, if the people look around them, their followers look like they hang on their every word, they seem really unhappy, they seem really lost. Again, it's not criticizing them, because there's a reason why people fall for these kind of false light gurus or teachers. When we are lost, we are traumatized, we are hurting, we're seeking, and they use that, they exploit that. So if there is any kind of culty feeling, just run the other way. Big red flag. When they put themselves on a pedestal, when their followers put them on a pedestal, when it's absolutely not allowed to question them or criticize them, when there is any kind of pedestal worshipping, don't question them, and they're perfect, and if you feel bad about anything, then it's you, and you're not good, and you're bad, and you're unspiritual, and it's your ego. Yeah, run the other way. That's all I can say. And of course, the very obvious, if there is any sign of abuse, okay, psychological, emotional, and let alone sexual abuse, if it's pretty obvious, I mean, just run. And again, these stories come out now more and more and more. Please do your research. They are very much, sometimes there are even Facebook groups that talk about this. There are articles. I'm not saying every article and every comment from any kind of random person online that is the absolute truth. Again, use your discernment. But if you find, let's say, a Facebook group with 10,000 members, and you have, hundreds and hundreds of stories of abuse and of what happened to them, I would probably take that quite seriously. So again, practice your discernment and do your research. And if there is any kind of pressure for spending money for them, it's very, very normal that people do, like they talk about stuff and they offer something maybe even for free. And at some point they advertise their offerings. At some point I'm going to start with that too, I guess. Because of course we need to live and pay our bills. Like that's normal. And I'm not talking about that. But if there is any kind of coercion, any kind of pressure that you need all of their super expensive courses and retreats, and if you don't do their 5 days super amazing tantric priestess shamanic whatever retreat for like $8,000, then you lost, you doomed, you will be forever unhappy and unhealed, and like be very, very careful about that. And it's good to invest in yourself, of course, but do it where it feels genuine, where it feels right, where you think you get something for your money, and not just because it's a trendy thing to do, or because they look, they look it, or because, any kind of even subtle pressure to do one course after the other, to spend thousands and thousands of euros, even when you tell them, I don't really have that money. Money is tight at the moment. I lost my job, or I'm traveling. I don't even have an income. And they're like, yeah, but you need to invest in yourself. They're like, you're going to miss your ascension. You're going to miss your whatever. If they speak like that, big red flag. Yeah, and just in general, I think we don't really need other people to heal us. Of course, sometimes we need support. We need help for things we don't really know how to do ourselves. Like I had a lot of shamanic healing sessions done on me over the years, and soul retrieval and ancestral healing and all of that, because I had no idea. And this is really hard in the beginning when you're just starting and it's all overwhelming. But we can heal so much ourselves. And I know because I've done it. I never had enough money to be able to afford a continuous support, a mentor, a healer, a therapist, let alone expensive retreats. I just did almost everything myself in collaboration with my soul and my guides and my intuition and all of that. And again, then the universe will start to send you the right people that are aligned with what you need. Like with the right support at the right time. And just know that you have so much power yourself. You don't need to outsource your healing, your power to anyone, let alone anyone above you. There is no one above you. No one. You are your own authority. You are sovereign. And you have the power. If you take responsibility for everything, if you choose to do your healing work, if you take it seriously, if you are committed, you can do so much yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate the power that you do have, and do not outsource it to other human beings, because that's just what they are. They're just humans like you, and maybe they know actually less than you do. Maybe they haven't really done their healing work. Maybe they just look the way and talk the way, and they're very convincing, but maybe they just don't. And you just don't give your power away to others. That's all I want to say. Even in the beginning, even when we are really lost, and we really need support, and then we are very prone to basically ask others, what should I do? What should I do? Tell me what to do. Please help me. I've done that a million times, of course. I've lost a lot of money for useless healings, or for healing something that was just like not at all important yet. So again, just know that you can do it yourself. You have all the power to do most of your healing work yourself if you connect with your soul, with your higher self, with your heart, with Mother Earth, with the divine source, with your spirit guides and your angels and all the helpers. You don't need a guru, okay? And the age of guru is over. That's all I'm going to say. There was a time in the Piscean era that we're coming out of where, yeah, we needed gurus, we needed saviors, we needed teachers. But now things are changing, the times are changing, and we just don't need that anymore. You are your own teacher, okay? You are your own guru. Your soul, if anything, your soul and source, divine mother, divine father, your spirit guides, whatever, they are your source of support. And not even your soul, not even your higher self, not even your spirit guides are your guru. They are not something outside of you. You are one with them, and you have the power to choose. You have the power to put your focus and your attention onto something and walk the path and do the work. And no one can tell you what to do and what not to do. They can give you advice, of course. Of course, you can reach out for help and inspiration and stuff like that, but no one can tell you what to do, okay? You don't need a guru. You just don't. The age of guru is over. We are our own gurus. The truth is in us. And when we take time to listen to it, we will know. And we will become better and better and better in developing and refining our own truth compass, so that we're not falling for these false light gurus anymore. Sorry, I had to put on lights because the weather is so bad outside. The monsoon, my God. It got so dark I couldn't read my own notes anymore. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we don't need a guru. And if people, spiritual teachers or whatever, place themselves as gurus, yeah, big red flag. And there is a trend, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram, online, TikTok, I don't know anything about that, to be honest, but or in these spiritual hubs I've been traveling to for many, many, many years, there is a bit of a trend like positioning themselves as a spiritual celebrity. And if that is the case, if there is a weird vibe around them, if there are followers that seem to worship them, pedestaling, any kind of spiritual celebrity, I don't know. I would like run the other way. And me personally, I was so lost in the beginning and for so many years and desperate, and I really needed help. And I started in India, and then I went to South America and Peru and all these places. And luckily, there was always something in me that helped me to not get pulled into it. I was not falling for the bullshit, okay? Because my inner truth compass was still intact enough, or maybe it's more like the very normal, very grounded, very pragmatic culture and environment I was born into. And yeah, it was dysfunctional emotionally and whatever, but there was always a strong sense of, you know, I don't know, some pragmatism and just like be normal. And that grounded approach was still in me, and it helped me to not fall for it. And to not fall for these grandiose promises, and not fall for any kind of cult around that person, around that teacher. And I could feel quite quickly when I looked at these people in the audience or whatever, that this is not for me. So I really, really would recommend you for the 10th time to work on your discernment and your intuition and just listen to it. Last thing that I want to mention here, it's a topic for another video, but be extra careful when you are, for example, traveling in Central or South America, in Peru or wherever, and then you see plant medicine, ayahuasca advertised everywhere, or you meet people and they say, oh my God, I've done it, it's so cool, you need to do it. It's the super trendy thing to do. I mean, maybe not anymore, like mine is long, long ago, and I'm out of this. And I'm not going into this now. The pros or the cons, there are both. It helped me personally a lot on my healing journey, but there are also really things to look out for. And especially with plant medicine, this is a powerful, powerful stuff. It's powerful. It can be incredibly healing. It can be a bit dangerous because it's so powerful, because it just opens us up wide to these other unseen realms. And unfortunately, it's quite common in places like Peru, maybe other places, that these facilitators, these shamans, they are not all, how should I put this? They don't all have the purest of intentions. Sometimes it's more like for money making. And I've heard many, many stories of quite deliberate black magic being practiced there and quite deliberately attacking these people when they are at their most vulnerable and most exposed during the ceremony, when you're in a completely altered state and you're physically sick and all of a sudden you get psychically attacked or even sexually. There are stories like that I've heard from several people now. Luckily, I've never encountered any of this myself, but I have been psychically attacked in my first ayahuasca retreat where I met that girl that I said in the beginning, now over 10 years ago, and we all have been attacked. We all got spells put on us that shaman in Ireland 5 years later saw and removed only 5 years later, because it was such a specific thing to do that people only from that tribe do, apparently. And I mean, you can believe me or not about spells and curses and entity attachments and things like that. I know it seems far out, but I could tell you hours and hours of stories about that, and maybe I will in other videos. I'm just saying we all got attacked for no other reason than this guy was just not a good person or not a good shaman. They had marital problems, like, I don't know, and he took it out on us. And in these altered states, you're just really exposed. So please, 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 when you plan any kind of plant medicine, any kind of psychedelics, anything like that, be extra, 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 extra careful. Use your discernment. If you see, like I've seen in Cusco, for example, you walk along that street and you see all these travel agency offers with like 3-5 day trips, like day 1 Machu Picchu, day 2 ayahuasca ceremony, day 3 party night in Cusco. That's a pretty red flag, I would say. Don't do it. Like, just don't do it. Please do your research. Maybe you hear it from trusted people or friends who've done it before in a place that is good. Also, you get what you pay for. If something is super cheap or for free, I'm not saying it's always bad, but that probably is another thing to look out for. And if something is way too overpriced, that's another thing to look out for. Something is too cheap or something is too expensive, it's not in and of itself already a big, huge red flag, but it's something I would pay a bit more attention to. And I just want to say at the very end, please, please, please use your discernment, practice your intuition, connect with your inner truth compass, listen to your gut feeling. Don't outsource your power to any kind of authority outside of you, let alone above you. There is no above you. The age of guru is over, okay? You're your own guru, you're your own teacher, you are your own authority. You know best what you need. Your soul will tell you, okay? And when you start that healing journey and you connect more and more with your soul, with your heart, with your guides, with your inner truth, you will know what you need and when and what's good for you and what's not aligned. So just trust that more than anything, more than anyone. Just trust yourself, trust your own truth. And just use your discernment as much as you can, especially when you are living that kind of lifestyle, going to these kind of places, these spiritual hubs, or even just the online world. I mean, there's just so much noise out there. There's just so much stuff out there. Not everyone is good. Not everyone means well. Some people mean well, but they don't know that they're unhealed healers and that they're projecting their stuff. So yeah, just use your discernment and your intuition and place yourself as your own authority, not anyone else above you. Never. You know best. The last thing I want to say is, in case you have already made these kind of negative experiences, like I have, luckily not totally bad, but like here and there, and there were already problems. You maybe had a very bad experience with a healer or in a shamanic or in a plant medicine or anything like that. Then know that it's not bad luck or random. It's probably because on some level you chose to experience this. Maybe there was a soul contract. Maybe it's because you then experience it and then you deal with it and then you have the knowledge and the wisdom to pass on to others. Maybe, it's for something. In the end, it's for something good, and on some level we've chosen this, but that doesn't take away the fact that it kind of sucks now for the human that you are. And I'm really sorry if you made any bad experience and it caused you harm. But then just please know that it was still somehow part of your journey. And then from here on out, you'll know. Just always ask for your highest and best. Connect with your heart, your soul, your divine source every day, with ground into Mother Earth. Do the vertical connection I've been talking about. Ask your guides for help, for protection, for bringing you only what's totally aligned with and what's aligned with your highest and best. The support that you need at any given stage in life, that is just the exact help or healing or advice that you need at this time, that is only for your highest and best. And then just trust and relax a little and try to enjoy the path. It's also really interesting. It's an interesting journey, and all the experiences we make are valuable. There are no bad experiences in that sense, because even if they are bad, you end up helping others. So yeah, that was a very long video today, and I hope you got something out of it. These are things that are helpful to know when you're just starting your healing journey. So I wish you all the best. Good luck, much success, and I'm sending you so much love for your healing process. And hope you have a great day, and see you soon. Bye-bye.